Frights Nation, baby. Are we recording? Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red, yellow leather. It's the pressure. When you know, we're inspired by the Kelsey brothers in some way, and one of them was a red leather, yellow leather guy.
Is that the whole uniform or just undergarments?
I think it's weekend attire. He's with Taylor Swift, you know what I mean? It's all leather, baby, isn't it?
Leather underwear.
Probably. That's what I'm thinking anyway. So you guys are here with us at our podcast, and we like to call it
Hangin
with the Homeboys. It is a date in October. I think it's like the 16th, isn't it?
Yes, very sweet.
Okay, my dog's birthday was yesterday, so now everybody knows that. Yeah.
What up, dog?
He's 3. I know, yeah.
Wow.
His age is up. That's what's up.
Yes.
So, we're here today visiting you guys, and we like to go through our regular segments. I'm just going to kind of open it up and tell you guys today we're going to do our home field advantage. We do that for buyers, agents, and sellers. We're going to do a little bit of Homeyology where we talk some industry stats, talk about full house a little bit with some design trends, and then also house party with maybe something to lighten the mood a little bit because, it gets pretty somber in here. We're never smiling. Are we? We're smiling too much, Yeah.
Well, that's actually the reason we have these mic filters on is so that the smiles aren't so distracting.
Still.
But you can see it in my eyes.
It's like an Orbitz commercial all the time. That's gum, isn't it?
Yes, and you dated a lot of our people watching today.
No worries,
Yeah,
no worries.
That's all right. That was about 2003, 2006, around there. But anyway.
How's your day going?
It's going well.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's actually feeling like fall. Things are getting crisp outside in the mornings. In fact, the coldest morning we have had since probably early spring.
Yeah.
We actually, it froze. And there's some pockets of prairie right down the street that are completely shaded where you can see the frost in the grass, and it looks really, really beautiful.
That's a Kansas thing right there.
Oh, yeah.
When's the last time you guys talked about pockets of prairie? I think that's in like the state anthem or something like that. The pockets of prairie.
That's today's Kansas.
Today, when I drove out, my windows were frosted over, and I did that. I left the truck out last night. So the truck, and I did that thing when I take off and I put the windshield washer fluid on the windows and it like gets the ice off, but it still fogs up. And then I just kind of drive out anyway, and I'm kind of peeking through.
Oh, hoping the Ace Ventura.
Hoping nobody's coming in the roundabout. Pretty good.
If you've ever had to stick your head out of your car because you were so fogged up or iced over, just raise your hand or say something down in the comments because I have actually done the Ace Ventura.
If you survived. That is if you survived.
That's right. Rest in peace to those who did not. The other thing is we're talking about microclimates.
Oh, yes.
Because you kind of live out in the country.
Yes.
So the density level of people, places, and things out there is a lot more sparse.
This is true.
I live in an actual neighborhood. Guess what?
Yes.
Drove my truck today, left it outside, not a single piece of ice on the windshield.
Are you serious?
Not a single piece.
Wow.
No defroster needed.
Interesting. Yeah.
But that's not the first time that I've
warmth of the
seen
houses and the trees and all that kind of stuff is just keeping the air warmer in there.
100%.
And with me, it's just dropping down and just putting the weight of the world on me every day.
Yes. I mean, literally the houses and the electricity being used and the warmth being generated, it make the more dense the area is, the more warmer that climate will be. Yeah.
Would you say that makes you feel, when you're working with your buyers and your sellers and as an agent, like a little bit less of the weight of the world?
Wow.
What do you think, man? Does it keep you warmer inside? Because I woke up this morning with the weight of the world on me with an earnest money thing. We won't talk about that one, though, because I might have made a mistake. We'll bring that back later when I find out whether it was a mistake or not.
Okay.
And we'll talk about it either way, whether it was a mistake or not.
But yesterday, something happened with a buyer that saw a house for the very first time, first house that they looked at.
This is true.
What they did after, was that a mistake, Luke? Talk to us.
You always wonder, when you go out with a buyer and you have not looked at any or many houses with them before, and you walk through that front door and they don't want any more. They don't want to see anything else. They like that house. Now, if you walk in the front door and they like it immediately, that could wear off. You know what I mean? But when they do their looking around and then they really like it and it comes out over time while you're in the house for 30 minutes or so, that feels pretty real.
Yeah.
You know,
organic.
Yeah. And then, you know, maybe you go to another house and in this particular situation, he and I, we were only looking at 2 because we were just getting started. Sometimes you meet a person at one house.
Now,
right?
is this person single, or is there another person to be considered here?
They are single.
Okay, so it's just a guy.
Yeah, and also experienced too. Like this is the 4th or 5th house that he has. This is the 4th or 5th time that he's bought a house
To live in.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, so that's important. We're talking about a guy. Not saying that guys and girls are that much different, but come on, guys. Girls be shopping, guys be buying. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And we're talking about somebody that's done this before.
This is right. So the question is that the right thing to do? You know, what are the different aspects of buying the first house that you see? And because the other way to do it is to look at a lot of houses, and then after you've looked at a lot of houses, then you know exactly what you want and you buy. So what we did last night was we wrote an offer last night after seeing these 2 houses, and then actually seeing one more because of something that I peppered in there to make sure that, you know.
You threw in a third?
I did. I threw in a third and I did it so we saw a really nice house. And then we drove to a house and walked in the front door, and I didn't even go in any further because I knew this
ain't gonna work.
This is not one of them, you know. And then in that house, we talked about him buying that house. Like, we're gonna make an offer. And
the first house.
Yeah. And I was like, there was that one around the corner. You want to go over there? Because I know you asked about that. And so I just scheduled. I didn't even have time, but I scheduled another one right over there. We were about to go in, and I looked at the price, and I was like, oh man, this one's like 15,000 higher than our limit. Like, we probably shouldn't go in. I just wanted you to see another one, you know? So we stood on the back. I folded out the truck bed,
Yes.
And, you know, it's not a Denali. I didn't have it up here, but regular lower truck bed. And we talked about, I gave him the buyer packet presentation. And then I was like, I'll call you later and we'll make an offer. And I was like, hold on, I've got some questions over here on this sheet. And I opened the door and got that out. And then we basically wrote the offer like right in my door. Like, I asked him the questions that I needed. So I was like, I'm going to go home. I'm going to work on this offer. I'm going to get with you later on Zoom. And are you good with that? How do you sound? Yeah, let's do it. I like it. I feel it. I love it.
And the house that he loves and feels, how long had it been on the market?
48 days.
That definitely, wow. So there's a butt for every seat.
Yeah.
I needed to hear that as a guy who has multiple listings that have a couple of days on them. Mm-hmm. It's good to know that you can have nothing, and then want some guy walk in and just go, you know what? I'm done.
It matched perfectly. The way I found out about it was in our sales meeting. I had just talked to the guy yesterday. Darlene came over and yeah, dude, she told me about the house. I don't know what conversation we were having. And she said, it's so well taken care of. I don't understand. We've only had so-and-so amount of showings. It wasn't very many. And I said, I don't know. Okay, well, let me take a look.
And what's this price?
$251,900.
Okay, wow.
So I looked at it, and it kind of backs up to the highway a little bit, you know? And but I talked to
what street
inside,
are we talking about?
34th Terrace, I think. I think that's what it is. It's across from Horn Park. Where it's
at. I was just over there.
Yeah. Okay. So I looked at the pictures. I was like, oh my gosh, this thing looks super sharp, just like she said. And that's the thing.
Just a hair dated type of situation, maybe?
No.
It's even been updated tastefully over the years?
Yeah. Custom woods cabinets, nice hardware, all that kind of stuff. Okay. All right. So he wants to make the offer. I start driving away. And I'm like, geez, I'm just feeling guilty about this. There was what if he has buyer's remorse? You know, like he probably should have buyer's remorse after this. He had asked me about one more. I called him immediately and I was like, hey man, I know that we want to make an offer on that house, but I have to make sure that you have looked at it, that you feel good about it. Let's go look at this other one that you asked about. Can I book it in an hour? And he's like, yeah, go ahead, book it. And I was like, I'm not trying to talk you out of the house. I don't have doubts about the house. I just want to make sure that you don't have doubts. And he's like, I know, you're just doing your due diligence. And I was like, yes, that's right. Let's go look at that one. So I met this contractor, and then I went over and met him at the house. And then we talked in that house about how it just felt right. When you walk in, you know. And the thing was that it matched everything that he told me the day before, because I did a pre-listing interview or a buyer interview with him over the phone. and we talked about what he wanted. And that's actually how I knew that this is one of the first houses I should take him to, because it had a big kitchen. It didn't need anything done to it. Everything was fine. Nice neighborhood where everything is, put together. And so when we got there, it was kind of like, well, what things don't match what you talked about? The only thing that doesn't match is there's some road noise back here. And he's like, yeah, but I'm from Dallas. And honestly, like, if it's too quiet, I can't go to sleep. Like, are you kidding? That's what he said. That's what he said. But where it is, it's up high, up above the highway. And I know, because I used to live over there too. My apartment complex backed up to it. I don't remember highway noise as a kid at all. Yeah. I don't remember it even one bit.
Yeah, and your brain has a great way of just saying, oh, this doesn't matter anymore.
And Briarwood, they don't talk about highway noise.
Yeah.
Briarwood's it's up high, it's got a bunch of trees around it. The ground must be higher than his roof, and or pretty close. And so it's got a really good block to it. And anyway, your brain turns that stuff off. It just kind of becomes white noise. You don't have it. And then we walked out the front. The neighbor came out. Are you going to be our new neighbor?
Oh, come on.
Yeah. Anyway.
And they're like the nicest people on earth.
So the question is that okay that he bought that house?
Well,
he didn't get it yet. We wrote the offer.
Here's the deal. Number one, it takes an experienced salesperson to sell somebody on the first night or the first day that they go out. It does. I mean, the house is a big part of it, but if you don't know what you're doing, and in this case, the buyer actually knew what the heck he was doing, he had some experience, they're going to be thinking, there are some people, I found this out in cars, that just have been told and drilled into their heads by people in their family that you don't buy the first thing that you see, no matter what.
I wouldn't do it, usually.
See, I'm more of a guy, and I'm not much of a shopper. I'm a buyer, and if it feels right and I'm happy with the price, I'm just gonna do it.
I said usually.
Yeah.
Because I do it too, though.
Yeah, like honestly, good salespeople are some of the easiest people to sell. If you could just listen to us and get us what we asked for, we're probably not even gonna beat you up on the price. If everything lines up like it's supposed to. We're really not. We're not going to use our superpowers to give 20% off. If it's a good deal, we're going to just do it.
I have a mini story about that.
Oh, come on, give it to us.
This weekend I went and I bought a little coffee table for a TV stand from this dude on Facebook Marketplace.
Okay. And, for what? For the house that you're getting ready for furniture?
Yeah, that's right. And so I just walked in. I talked to the guy. We had been texting. I walked in, looked at it. Looked good. It's a lazy boy. It was $150, And I was like, oh, man, that looks good, there's just like a little ding right there, but I could just use a marker on that, that's on the back anyway. And that's fine, man. He goes, you know what? Since you're the only one that didn't try to deal me down, you can have it for $100. Oh! And I was just like,
look at my man. Wow.
Nah, thank you. He wants to open a furniture store. I mean, cool.
Oh, so is he telling you like, keep me in mind? I'll have more stuff as you need it.
Kind of. I've been meeting the coolest people out buying Marketplace stuff. And I sent somebody to his house to look at the chimney because I saw chimney caps off. Anyway, back to this thing. So salesmen, we're gonna make decisions like that. We're gonna pay the right price. This guy, he bought a good deal, right? I mean, I don't know that it's like a steal, but it fits the guy.
Listen, if the only thing a person's going to buy is a steal, they're going to be shopping for a really, really long time.
Yes.
Waiting for somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, a seller that don't know what they're doing, hooked up with a listing agent that doesn't know what they're doing. Sorry, guys, that's a 1 out of every 200 house affair, guys. Okay, sometimes a good deal is a person who gets what they want for a price that they can afford. Full stop.
Have you seen a buyer that buys something on the first day or an early one, and then like they have that buyer's remorse?
Well, it can happen, but the reason why it's not going to happen with us, the way we set deals up, is something that I've said right here in this seat before, is that most salespeople, especially the ones who are insecure, not making enough money, and not good with their skills, will never, ever say anything out of their mouths that makes the deal possibly go backwards or makes the person in the decision-making chair hesitate. That's in their brain. Their job is to keep the momentum of this train going in one direction. And people like us who stop the train, no matter how long of a process it is to stop a train, we will bring it to a screeching halt and say, before we continue on. Are you absolutely sure? And those conversations are bigger than they are in consequence than they are in length.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I don't deal with buyer's remorse. I just don't. I'm not saying
either.
it's a thing, but
yeah.
If you've ever had it in sales just one time and you care, you say, okay, no sale is worth somebody groveling back to me trying to get out of something that I can't get them out of. You know?
How did you come to that philosophy that you stopped the train? Where did that come from for you? Were you taught that by somebody?
It's out of fear.
Yeah.
And the fear is becoming the salespeople that everybody in the public can't stand. The salesperson that everybody has been teaching you to avoid when you go out in any sales consideration. I want to be somebody who's a true consultant. And when I hear stories about people buying something, but then they never call you again, they never refer anybody to you, something happened in that interaction to where they got buyer's remorse. I can just feel it, and it happens so often where people do something and then they replay it all in their head. And the only thing that you were saying was go, go, go. You are now part and parcel to that bad decision. I don't care. Now, if they run that movie back, they run that VHS back in their brain, and there was a time where you stopped everything and said, "Are you sure? Because I got, we can try these other things that might fit better, or this isn't jiving with the conversation that we had yesterday when I first met you." If you do that, even if they do have buyer's remorse, they're gonna tell everybody but you. Because they don't want to hear you say, well, I told you.
Yeah.
You remember that? Remember when matter of fact, I'm looking at the text message right here. It says, this is all moving kind of fast. Are you sure you want to do that?
Yeah, you kind of want that record.
Yeah.
You want that evidence, so I can't live with that go, 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 go either in my memory, Like for me, I think the way that behavior as a buyer agent came about is just like this time. I drive away and I feel it. Like I feel the remorse for them, like my way of being a buyer agent is like, I feel like I've become you, I'm like, what do you want? Okay. That's what I want, and then if we don't like explore all the options, and the thing is that as an active agent out in the field, I know what the options are out there. I didn't just see this beautiful house that we want to buy, but I also know there are like 2 or 3 or 4 other that are close to that. And I want to make sure that you know that too. Yeah. You feel that because I also want to buy this house, or else I wouldn't even agree to you that we're going to buy this first one. You would have had to talk me into it. But since I agree, now I'm also like, okay, was I too go, go, go? Let me call this guy back and let me say, look, I think we need to look at another one, or we need to take a little bit of extra time. The way that I used to do it is like, look, I know you want to buy it tonight. You need to go home and go to sleep, and then we'll come back and look at it tomorrow.
Right.
Because you had time before.
In the normal days.
Whew, yeah, 10 years ago, that was when you could look at 20 houses. Now, you might only get to look at 5 houses over like a month or something like that. So I think being that buyer agent, that person representing that buyer, you are them. And that's what makes you do the best for them. That's that fiduciary responsibility, right?
It's almost like the difference between a real consultant and somebody who's just in sales.
Yeah.
Is the empathy. And some people, you probably have already met them, literally do not have the ability to empathize. They cannot see things from a perspective that is other than their own lenses. And listen, that doesn't necessarily make them bad people, but you got to be able to see that kind of stuff and avoid those type of salespeople who it's truly about getting them the next sale, and who cares what happens to the person that I helped last.
You are here with Hanging with the Empathizers. And the next thing that we're going to talk about is permits. That's another topic that you want, that is near and dear to you, or you're being asked about it by people remodeling properties. You're very engaged in the world of construction, if you will.
I'm trying to be, but ultimately I'm still a rookie. And every project that I've done so far, when it comes to either remodeling, flipping so we can sell, have been projects to where we have not pulled a single permit with the city of Topeka. And for the most part, we are kind of taught around here that as long as you're not adding square footage to the house or adding a structure to the property that didn't exist before, you're pretty okay to go without a permit. But there is one thing that can happen to a house that if you turn around and acquire it, that is going to force your hand into the permit situation, whether you like it or not. And that is a little thing called condemnation. Huh? You guys have ever heard of a condemned home? I don't think a lot of us really even know what that means.
We don't see it very often.
We don't. We've heard of it, and it sounds negative as heck, right? But what I have found out is that if a house has not been condemned by the city and has just simply been abandoned by the current owner for one reason or another, maybe they died, maybe they moved away, something happened, and some other people, maybe somebody of the homeless population in the city decides that they want to start living in that house and taking over. Well, there's only one person who can make a claim for them to not be there lawfully, and that's the person who owns the house. So
really?
That is correct. Huh. So if you're a neighbor and you say, hey, I know for a fact that those people don't own the house. They pulled a Walmart, cart to the house,
yeah,
and they've been sleeping there every night. The police can't do anything until somebody that actually owns the house makes that complaint. The only thing that can happen to stop this situation, especially if the owner is dead, and even if it is known that the owner is dead, that loophole is still there for the people occupying that house. So the only thing that can be done is to get the city to possibly condemn the house for one reason or another. Because once that house becomes condemned, that is the city saying that right now this house is inhabitable. And simply being inside of it is now a
dangerous
crime within itself.
Okay.
And now we can arrest a person without the person who owns the house calling the police and saying, get him out of my house.
Trespassing or whatever.
So that's what happened to a property that I just bought from the auction.
Wow.
A fella, it's been abandoned for 3 or 4 years. The guy's been dead for 4 or 5 years. And I even had I know somebody in the community that works directly with homeless people, making sure that they understand all of the programs that are available to them. And she had been inside that house working with somebody who essentially claimed that home before it had gotten condemned. But the neighbors in that area have been living there for a long time. They jumped through the hoops to make sure that the city of Topeka actually condemned it. And once the code enforcers condemned it, that allowed the law enforcement branch to actually start chasing people away from there.
I do want to ask you about one part of what you said, and that was that even if the person that owns the house is dead, that's still the only person that could make the request to get the people out of the house.
That's right.
So once the owner of the house is dead, then somebody can just trespass all over it.
Yes.
And nothing can be done.
I mean, you could damn near get squatters' rights in a place like that if you know enough about that. You can basically occupy that house as if it's your own.
Huh. What about, I don't expect you to know this answer. What about the heirs or the executor of the will or that kind of thing? Can they make a call? They'd probably have to prove it with documentation like, hey, look, I have I think prowess over this property or whatever you want to call it.
Well, I could be wrong, but maybe that one person has a will that literally says, upon death, this house is now mine.
Sure.
Well, before you call the police and try to make a big deal out of it or protect that property, you got to go down to the Register of Deeds and you've got to show them the will, and they'll put the house in your name. And then the moment that it's in your name, you can do whatever you need to do to get these people off your property. But so that's another thing, because I've already spent at least a couple $1,000s getting this property cleaned up, doing some work on this property. And technically, I am taking a risk by doing that already when it comes to this auction. Sure. And it is not redemption rights.
Right.
That would be a term that we're talking about if the house had been foreclosed by a bank. Okay? When it comes to auctions, you get notified a few months before the auction that, hey, your house is on the list. It will be auctioned. This is how much money you owe. And the time that you have to get that money paid off is literally up to the date of the auction. And if the day of the auction comes and you have not made it right, that house will be sold and you will have nothing that you can do except
Uh-oh.
The one thing that is making what I am doing a little bit risky.
Like if your uncle is Sam or something. Go ahead. No, Uncle Sam. No, the one thing you're doing that's a little bit risky, my bad.
The one thing that can be done is if your house gets auctioned off is you can sue the city that auctioned your property off under the grounds that the sale of the property was unlawful.
Yeah, but if all the paper trail is there and the tax lien and all that, they don't pay the tax lien.
Yeah,
they're not going to lose
the chances of that happening are so small. But because all of the gurus on the internet have the lawyers in their department telling them, hey, we have to throw this in because there is a chance that this could happen. So if you look on the internet when it comes to, redemption rights or why you should wait to start doing construction on a place that you buy from an auction, you're going to see a lot of don't do it. It's because of that really small chance. And because I've heard from the neighbors that the guy who owned that house is dead.
Yeah.
Really hard for him to come back and file a lawsuit.
This is great. The dead talk is a great segue for something that I want to talk about later. But we wanted to talk about the risk. You're taking risk right now. You're doing some work before whatever the release is for Uncle Sam gives you the stamp of approval, whatever.
Yeah,
but the other risk,
my name isn't even on the deed.
The other risk that we wanted to talk about with the permits is what?
Okay, so that is what I said. All of that to get to this point here. Once a house is condemned, you really don't want to start proceeding with doing anything significant until you check with the city. Okay. And a lot of people will say, well, man, you live in Topeka. It's pretty permissive when it comes to permits. They're really not on you. Well, this house has now been flagged. You got to look at it like that. It's been flagged for being uninhabitable. So before I can just whip it all up and sell it, the city has to have known that the things that made it uninhabitable have been taken care of.
Uncondemn it.
Absolutely.
Decondemn.
So they're going to come in and say, well, we flagged it for this, this, and this. So that means you got to check with us, and you're going to pay a certain amount for the application for the permit. And then you're going to pay a certain amount of money for somebody to come back and actually check and make sure that you did it. And I'm saying all this to say that a lot of people who are adjacent to my position would say, man, that's a bummer. It's too bad that it got condemned because then you wouldn't have to deal with that. Hold up.
You got to get the city to come back and be like, we recommend, it's decommend.
Yes. Yes.
Condemned.
Yes, DJ Lukey Luke. That's exactly what has to happen. But rather than going with the people around me who say that I have somehow been hurt by this process, I'm going to say this is one of the best things that can happen. Because now I have no choice but to follow the permitting process. And it is actually something that I believe is very cheap insurance for the health of my company, for the health of my business ventures from now on into the future. Because
to get the permit, right?
Oh, 100%. It's cheap insurance because now if there's an electrical fire in 2029, and I was the last person to do any major electrical work there, but it was all permitted, I don't have to worry about getting dragged into a lawsuit, okay? Or if we build a really cool deck off the back and somebody falls off and breaks their neck, and what are insurance companies going to do? Trying to find any reason to make sure that they don't have to pay it if they can blame it on anybody else.
Somebody else has to pay it.
That's right. When they do their work and they see that the stuff is not permitted, heck, the ability to see the permitted additions onto a house is very easy from the internet when you know how. And so the insurance companies definitely know how to figure this stuff out to make sure it goes to a complete department that basically is their job to find out who can we blame. Okay, so we don't have to pay this out. So I want to be able to go to my next project, not only with somebody having bought that house and being happy today, but I want it to be structurally sound underneath all of the new drywall and all of the new paint, that we are ready to rock and roll, and that I can sleep soundly knowing that somebody else signed off on all those important things So if somebody ever gets hurt, it does not ruin my life and get me into a situation where I have to file bankruptcy, opening up a new LLC and all that stuff. I'm not built for any of that.
Thinking of a permit as insurance is a new way to think of it. I mean, and that's a great point that you're making. A lot of people are wanting to avoid the red tape and avoid somebody approving what they did. And I don't need that. We did it fine. We're going to do it the right way. Or, they're going to come in here and tell me to tweak these little things. There's a reason for that. And it's the protection of the people. And what you're looking at it from the aspect of the protection of this guy, and partly, the person who actually does the remodeling and owned it and creates it and has the liability. But it's also so that guy doesn't die. It's also so that guy doesn't fall off the deck, and we have to think about that all the time. And another thing, one example that made me think of as realtors, when we list a house that has 3 bedrooms, but we call it 4 bedrooms, and it doesn't really have a window in the basement for somebody to escape during a fire, an egress window. If you do that and you call it a 4 bedroom and someday somebody dies in that basement because they couldn't get out of a fire, that's your fault.
Yeah.
That's the same kind of thing. It's like acting in a way that protects everybody in the future. And that's what permits do. And the permit is kind of like insurance that protects you. And keep in mind, banks and every corporate entity, they actually require insurance, and you're a business. You should require insurance. You should require yourself to have permits.
And the last thing before we wrap this up, guys, is this also gives me an opportunity to build a relationship with the people behind the scenes at code enforcement. Because, guys, we're going to be doing this for a long time. This is not just some flash in the pan. No, we've got enough experience that we know we're going to flip a house every single year, at least one. And down the line, we're going to be doing new construction. So we're going to be able to be better at estimating how much it's going to cost to do these jobs, because we're going to be abreast of all the codes. And I told you over a year ago that I was no matter what, I was going to buy a house that needed to be gutted, a house from the auction, because that is the closest thing to new construction that I will have come to. And I want something to bring. I don't want to just have to come in and put new flooring and paint anymore. I'm ready to do all of the electrical, to do all new plumbing, and to be able to say, this is the closest thing that's going to get me thinking like a person who does new construction. So just want to throw that out there as a pushback to most of what you're hearing when it comes to permitting being bad. It's not a lot of money, guys. We're talking hundreds of dollars, not thousands of dollars. To be shown. And then the last caveat is that you don't even necessarily have to have a so-called professional licensed individual do these things. Once the inspector comes back and he signs off on it, it don't matter if you have a receipt from a local company or if you did it yourself. That don't matter. Is it done correctly? That's all he's signing off on. So don't think that getting a permit is going to make it to where you have to hire the most expensive people in town. No, you can pull your own permits, okay? Moving on.
All right. So Chris says, I'm going to try again. He's made friends, it's with DJ Permit. And, Chris, I don't pretend. I'll recommend. It's decondemned. You, my friend.
Wow.
No.
Wow. That was amazingly bad. But
yes, I did it.
The good thing is that nobody will want to hear it. So
no, we're cut that. Cut that. No. Screw that. Can you screw it? All right.
Talking.
Now, a little bit of Homeyology. It's very brief. I heard on the news, I heard on CBS News this week from Jill Schlesinger, I think is her name.
Okay.
And she said that it was in the course of the conversation about insurance because of all the damage from Helene and Milton and Florida just being destroyed. We're all in the same insurance pools.
Yeah.
And
are we though?
Well, I don't know.
Isn't that funny? How here in the Midwest our rates are being changed because of these disasters that are going on in coastal states? But
and should we be?
I don't know.
Should we?
The insurance company, yeah.
That's the thought that I've been having while I'm taking my shower in the morning.
Because it sounds good. They're like, insurance companies are taking all these losses. They've got to recoup it somehow.
It's raining down on me. And I'm thinking like, my thunderstorm is way different than a hurricane storm. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's time for change, you know? Rain is the symbol, in literature for change. So maybe we should change the way the insurance works. But anyway, Jill Schlesinger, she said that rates, even before these storms, had risen from 7.7% of your house payment to about 9.4% of your house payment. That's how much you're paying every month on insurance. And, you figure the percentage for yourself, that's just about 2% difference of your total house payment. And now that I'm looking at it, it makes me want to go back and verify that math, Like if your insurance is $2,400 a year, that means you're paying $200 a month. And if the difference is $2 per 100, right, then that's like $4 a month more for your insurance. If your insurance is 20, that doesn't, and then over the course.
No.
What?
They're not measuring the change from your raw insurance payment to the next. They're measuring the change between how much of that insurance payment constituted your overall house payment. That movement, that's a different math problem.
We should do the math.
Yes.
We should do not right now.
Because that's a different math problem, 100%.
Well, I'm just thinking of is the total $2,400 if your insurance is that much per year. As an example, we'll break that out and we'll talk about that in Homeology next time. We'll have a little display for you.
I was ready.
Let's not do it.
I was ready.
We should not do it. That's fun.
We will. And I think the number one thing that you should take away from this right now is that you've got to shop around. I know that the guy at the insurance place that sends you a really cool calendar every single year, you do not want to break his heart. And you're also thinking about how complicated it would be because they tell you you're saving so much money because you've bundled your car and you've bundled your house and you've bundled your jet ski. And so if you dare, change one thing, it could blow up the whole space-time continuum. Listen, just check. That's what this is about right now. We want you to do some calling around. And the cool thing about it is if you get with somebody that's going to save you hundreds of dollars on your premium, believe it or not, they can make that really nasty phone call for you. A lot of the insurance companies can actually notify your old insurance that there's a new sheriff in town. You can't have insurance twice on a place, and this is what's going on, and you need to stop. And
make sure if you're changing for low insurance, make sure you're good friends with that insurance person, and you have vetted them, and they know what they're talking about. That your benefits are going to be parallel to benefits from other companies.
Look at my boy. See, because if all we're focusing on is the cost, but we're not focusing on the benefit, I could be getting you into a trick bag right here to where you're actually giving away protections so that way you pay less money for the insurance. We want to make sure that it's pound for pound. Show the new person that you got to be able to show them what you got so they can give you a quote on what you got right now so you don't end up going backwards or trimming things. Or if they're a true consultant, maybe they can explain to you why you are overinsured. Maybe they can explain that, hey, in this area, they've got you set up for this, and this is kind of crazy.
There are standards for what they have to approve for your claims and all that kind of thing. And, in every aspect of everything, there's people playing fair and there's people that aren't playing fair. And then
there's real consultants, and then there's just another salesperson.
In our world, in the real estate world, the primary insurance claim that we end up making is a roof claim. And we kind of feel like we know which claims are more or companies are more likely to deny those claims, possibly.
Yeah, based on experience.
And it might be just because they have a brand. And we know that insurance company, because everybody gets insurance from them. I'm not saying any particular one. Maybe there's other smaller companies that deny claims the same way, but we just don't hear about it because they're not the one that's in everybody's mouth that everybody's talking about. But I can tell you this, that you can look on your state's insurance department website and you can find a grade. And I did that 25 years ago, or I don't say that. I never say 20 years ago or 20. Yeah. I did that a long time ago when I was still as young as I am right now and dapper.
Yeah. Except the internet sounded like this.
Yeah, and in the end, it said A. It said A+, and I picked that company, and I have never been unhappy. Never heard of that company before.
Wow.
Rates are good. I have never been unhappy with the claim that I've made. The roofs get paid for when it should be paid for. The car claim, super easy. Send them a picture, get my money, Ooh. So check out whoever you're looking for insurance on the insurance department website for your state, if they have that. Kansas does.
That's right.
All right. Well, if you have a house and it's insured, you got to fill it up and you got to make it look pretty,
Yes.
And I just recently saw something. This could be buzzworthy. I saw something very old. I watched Beetlejuice. The old one. It's super old. You've seen Beetlejuice, but you told me yesterday you haven't even seen it all the way through.
Yeah,
because
I
it's
was
corny.
a child. Listen, he was everywhere and he was an icon, but I never understood. I was 6, 7 years old.
I still don't understand. We tried to watch it. Our 10-year-old didn't understand the monsters. None of it was scary. I do get it. It's some art, you know? And that's the way they were decorating the house in there. She came in, it was an old farmhouse, and it looked like a church almost. And then her and her, New York stylist guy, they came through and they just walked in the room with a can of spray paint, and it was like country wallpaper, and she just spray painted the word mauve. Like, wow, we're going to paint all this mauve.
Oh, my gosh.
And he walked in the other room and he said some kind of steel blue. And then later they flash into the dining room and they're all having this very strange dinner the first time that they all get haunted. And the walls are painted like sparkly silver. And they've got these big 80s patterns or 90s patterns on the wall that are like hot pink and blue. And it was a spectacle of design. And I just thought that it's something that, you know what? You guys should go out and look at those rooms in that house. The whole thing is
one way to never get your house sold, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's right. I wonder if the new Beetlejuice has the rooms looking like that. Are you going to watch that one?
No. But that's funny though, because somebody sent me a really, really weird Airbnb tour this morning. Because they know that we're into that kind of stuff, and the house was completely tripped out. It literally reminds me of the aesthetic that you're talking about through Beetlejuice, which makes me wonder if that's more of a sign of the times in Beetlejuice, or is that just a Tim Burton? Tim Burton always makes sure that his settings are ultra everything.
Sure,
you think
right.
of Edward Scissorhands, you even think of Batman.
True.
And it's funny, out of all three of these movies, I don't know which one came first. Was it Beetlejuice? Was it Batman? Was it Edward Scissorhands? But every one of them, Edward Scissorhands, what he did with the suburbs in there, how he had everything manicured and all the houses had these big pastel colors. I mean, that was some Tim Burton
contrast
stuff.
between Edward Scissorhands and everything around him was very interesting and extreme.
Yes, yes. Huh. But I would love to try something really extreme and against the so-called Chip and Joanne norms of today when it comes to design, that I think that people want to have that experience. I don't think they want to live in a house like that all the time, but how cool, especially, we talked about how much nostalgia driven that we are as Gen Xers. And millennials, we love nostalgia. And so even though Beetlejuice doesn't have this huge connection to my heart, if I had the opportunity to stay at a Beetlejuice themed Airbnb versus just a normal Chip and Joanne B&B, I'm taking the cool one. I want the experience.
I'm just making sure that you didn't say Beetlejuice 3 times.
Yeah, you're right.
If I said it the 3rd time, does that bring him around?
I think
it does. I don't think it does.
Yeah, we'll have to check on that.
That's why. So I want to talk about that too. We're selling houses. We're out there. There are people that have actually said that they feel an energy in the house before.
A presence, if you will.
Yeah. And I just want this. We can't talk about what they believe, but let's talk about what we believe, man.
Wow.
I want to know. This is supposed to be the funny part, but Chris said that this is the part that just scares him to the core. Like, do you believe in ghosts, sir?
Well.
See, guys, he can't even be funny now.
Listen, no. Listen. I've never had a paranormal visitation conversation. I must not be what the ghosts are looking for when it comes to haunting, because I've just never dealt with it. But that doesn't mean that just because in my world I haven't been visited, that I am saying that every person in the world that feels very strongly that they've been touched, visited, or otherwise communicated with the ghost, I'm not saying that they're full of crap.
Right.
I'm just saying it ain't happened to me. And since it hasn't happened to me yet, I don't really operate under the assumption that it's going to happen. And so I move and do whatever I want to do without feeling spooky.
What do you think? Do you think you want to be spooked? Do you think that you want to see a ghost? Or are you like, nah, I'll tell you, I don't want to see a ghost, man. first of all, I kind of believe. I grew up being told about stuff like that in the Philippines. You know what I mean? Like, that's real, dude.
Yes.
It's there.
Yes.
You know, like it moved out in the forest. The palm trees moved, you know? I don't know. It could be real, but it's not real to me. I don't want it to be real to me. If you're a ghost and you're here right now, don't tell me. Just do your thing. You know, if you're in the house and I'm home, then just please don't do the stuff. You know what I mean? Like, don't mess with my dogs. Don't mess with my animals, you know. But if you need to open some doors and you got to walk over there and do maybe if you want to eat some cupcakes or something like that.
Okay.
I'd probably be okay with that because I think when they eat the cupcakes, it's the cupcake spirit, you know? Unless if they can eat the cupcakes and take the calories out of it, and then I just get to eat the cupcake after that, that's even better. I'll go on the ghost diet right now.
See?
But what I'm asking for is the ghost not to tell me, and I'm also not going to deny that they are here. Because what if what you just said, you didn't really fly right in the face of the ghost? Boom! You didn't fly right in their face, but you did kind of say like, yeah, I don't believe. Maybe I'm not.
I'm saying if the ghosts are out there, they haven't been very interested in coming into my life.
Yeah.
You know, I remember being a
don't
child.
Make them. Don't be like, you ain't a ghost. Ain't no ghosts in my area.
Hell, or just singing "I Ain't Afraid of No Ghosts."
Yeah,
you know,
don't sing that.
Singing the Ghostbusters theme song could get you visited, but you know, I just got too nerdy over the years. When I was a kid and I didn't know nothing about nothing, and then we thought everything was a coin flip as far as chances of happening. Oh, I remember come running up the basement stairs, you know, from the darkness behind you, you know, because we didn't nobody had three-way lights. You had to go turn off the light and then run your ass up the basement stairs, and you felt like something could literally grab you and pull you back down, you know?
I still think that if I think too much about that then it might actually happen.
See?
You know, maybe because I'm still believe, you know, I think that there is some energy that's coming from us. So why couldn't there be a ghost? You know, why couldn't, you know, there's a spirit, you know, maybe. And if they're walking around, more power. No, not more power to them. That doesn't. No, don't say. I wouldn't say that. Not,
or we could say
same power to them.
Hey, listen. We could also say that the only people that are being haunted are the ones that deserve it. And so obviously we've lived such a life that we just don't deserve that terrorism in our lives. And other people that have, y'all know what you did. And I hope you ain't doing it no more.
Yeah, you can escape the ghost, right?
That's right.
There's got to be a reason.
The demon is within you. You know,
we're talking
vanquish
about
him.
This is Halloween time. You know, we're just getting warmed up for that. So that's why we're thinking about these things, and we want to know from Neil. You know, we're here for the home stretch and crossing the home plate. It's you know, MLB playoffs time, that kind of stuff. So, what do you think, man? Is there anything that we talked about that you would want to hear more about today?
I want to know why you think ghosts have to be like a negative, scary experience.
I guess Beetlejuice proved that they don't have to be. He was a cool guy. He was a cool
ghost.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sitting at a pottery wheel. Somebody you love.
Patrick Swayze.
Wrapped around you.
Demi Moore. That's true.
Dang, you're right.
Ghosts can move like this. You know, they don't have to just whatever we think ghosts do, right?
Damn, he's right. I mean, ghosts. All ghosts don't have to come to scare you. They could come to love you.
I think that's part of it from my Philippines influence is like not all the ghosts were bad.
Oh,
some of the ghosts were just kind of there to protect in the village and take care of the stuff, you know, like feed the goats. Maybe I'm not sure.
They had comedic ghosts, you know, that would do stuff and trick people and make people laugh. You know,
it's possible that we are what's it called when you got the ghost coming out of you? Like maybe that's why we're funny, dude. We're ghostly haunted.
It's an exorcism every show, guys. He's just coming out of us.
That is a great question, man. And you know, that's a great perspective. I believe that. I do believe that there are friendly ghosts out there. If there are ghosts. Slimer?
Yeah.
Remember,
Casper was in the name.
Casper the friendly ghost, right? Thank you.
What about The Sixth Sense?
The Sixth Sense.
Talk about movies.
Sure.
That movie was awesome.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see dead people. Would you? Or they're all dead, though, right? I don't want to see any ghosts. I am afraid of all ghosts.
You are?
I guess.
Even the funny ones. Come on.
No, I'm not afraid of those.
No, that was a piece of cinematic history right there. But not one of the last ones to not be tainted by the internet.
Oh man!
Even though there were still people that were spoiling that movie, but I got to see it before the spoiler, and I am very happy.
We need M. Night Shyamalan to make a movie about a house, or maybe he already has. He?
Oh yeah,
he has. Well, let's find out what that is, and then let's talk about that next week when we're back here.
Remember Signs with Mel Gibson?
Yeah, is that about a house? I thought that was about
ghosts.
aliens.
Aliens. Yeah. Ooh, I'm conflating them. That's it.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. There could have been a ghost because the guy was cutting, was he a ghost technically when he was cut in half? Was he already dead and just ghosting?
I forgot that even happened.
Yeah.
But off the strength of the Sixth Sense alone, I probably saw the next 6 M. Night Shyamalan movies in the theater trying to get the feeling that I felt from Sixth Sense. And no, it never, it never quite happened.
How could you? How could he
Unbreakable
do that
cool.
again? I like that one.
Unbreakable went hard.
And then that's Mr. Glass too, right?
Yes, sir.
And then what's the third one? The multiple personalities dude. You know that
Split?
One? Yeah.
I never saw it.
Yeah, that's okay. You can still see Split, but it doesn't. It's not Unbreakable either. But I like the series. So, well, here we are, guys. We're running up on the end of our time slot. The producers back there are telling us to shut it down, so I think we should. So we appreciate you. We want you to like, subscribe, share, comment. Commenting is good, right?
Yeah. Or you can just write us a letter to the studio. We can go old-fashioned for our most dedicated fans.
If you want to wait, you can call in to the telethon that we're going to have right around Thanksgiving time, right?
Oh, yeah. Now you're talking. I think we're going to do a 24-hour stream. We're just going to be live 24 hours straight.
Man, you got to tell me about this stuff.
Yeah, well, we got a little bit of time.
I'm ready. All right. Well, we appreciate you here, and we love you guys at Hangin
with the Homeboys.
Peace.